A bunch of manga adaptations came out last year. Some were better than the manga, others were in fact not. Sometimes when a manga gets adapted into an anime, it gets worse. Or sometimes it just becomes bad, even if the manga is really good. So here's 10 2016 manga adaptations whose manga were a lot better than their anime. And as always, if you disagree with me and you think these anime improve on their source material, then that's fine. This is just my silly little opinion. What do I even say about this one? Like, literally, what is there to say? Berserk's 2016 adaptation was basically the meme anime of the summer and was universally panned by fans and critics alike. Terrible animation, unfaithfulness, awful sound design, everything and anything wrong with this anime has basically been said in countless other videos, so it's completely redundant to go into why this anime is so bad. It's only number 10 on the list not because it's the best out of these adaptations, no, it's actually the worst out of all 10 of these anime I'm talking about, but it's so low on the list because everyone already knows about it. Everyone knows the Berserk manga is way superior, so yeah, I gave more attention to ones people may not know. Wait, I said we were moving on. What the fuck is this shit at a school? This isn't oh. What? There was another shitty CGI adaptation last year? Yeah, that's right. It's Ajin. Ajin's anime was also a CGI nightmare, but objectively a lot better than Berserk. A lot of people like this anime and I can understand why, but overall it just felt a lot less engaging than the manga. And I don't hate all CGI anime. I loved Knights of Sidonia and Kingdom, but both of those had source material with amazing plot and characters to support it. The Ajin manga's plot and characters aren't bad per se, but the most impressive part of Ajin is the art and the paneling, which is completely obliterated in the anime. I kept on waiting for some of my favorite scenes from the manga to happen in the anime, and then they would without me even realizing it at first because they just looked so different and bland compared to the super stylish manga. Overall, the Ajin anime isn't bad, but it's definitely not what the manga is. This is on the list less so because of my own opinions, but mostly because of the opinions of others. The Orange anime came and went with some rather lackluster fanfare. As a big fan of the manga, I wasn't honestly too disappointed by it, but I get why people didn't really like it. Basically everything about it wasn't as good as the manga, well, except for the music, which, yeah. And due to that, all the scenes that were supposed to be all serious and intense just came across as kinda melodramatic. If you pay attention to the plot overall solely, then it's still all there. They didn't cut out anything super important, and it was still all really good. And the payoff, in my opinion, is amazing, but it was a little bumpy of a ride to get to the end. I liked it, but a lot of people didn't. That's why it's number 8 on this list. At least we're getting a movie to tie up some stuff, because, yeah, we needed that, right? Yokai seem to be really big in Japan recently, so let's try to milk off that. That's basically the MO of Fukigen na Mono no Keion. The manga is nothing more than a light-hearted Natsume's Book of Friends inspired series, with some decent characters, great art, and a nice sense of progression with its episodic stories. The anime tried to make work of that, but inevitably failed. Nothing feels like it's happening each episode, and when it tried to wrap itself up at the end, I couldn't help but look back and feel like I started the series for nothing. The manga stories are short and simple, and as such they adhere a lot better to a manga format. I'm not saying you can't have an anime without a plot or goal, but if you do, you have to have some sort of hook that makes it better than what the manga has to author. Because as we all know, sticking to a manga with nothing happening is a lot nicer than sticking to an anime with nothing happening. Overall, this anime is mediocre at best, which is a shame because the manga is, like, kinda good. Sticking to the theme with nothing happening, we have a Manchu, a slice-of-life series from the creator of Aria with a significantly less good anime than Aria, which is a shame because the manga of Amanchu is a lot closer to the level of quality Aria has. Amanchu is another one of those feel-good series with little to nothing happening in it, which is fine, but when the manga is more feel-good and has some interesting supernatural elements, mysteries, and fun storylines similar to Aria, it's easy to see why the manga is so much better. JC staff tried to capture the magic of the Amanchu manga, but overall failed by trying to pander more to the otaku crowd in Japan. Everything was just a bit more sexualized than the source material, and some of the best chapters went unadapted. As much as I hope this anime gets a season 2 to improve on itself, much like the Aria anime did, I can't help but think that we got jibbed with this lackluster anime. Okay, one more nothing happening anime, I promise. Takashi Kashi. What can I say about this series? It was decently big, but pretty split among the anime community. Some people praised it for its waifus and jokes, while other people criticized it for its lack of plot and too many unfunny moments that pad it. While it was airing, I was kinda like in the middle. I thought the girls were pretty cute, and while it wasn't the best thing I've ever watched, it was decent enough to entertain me. My opinion kinda shifted more towards the wow, this is kinda bad side once I read the manga. If the manga has one thing over the anime, it's way funnier. The manga is a lot shorter, so the jokes happen at rapid speeds, and it's also a lot more palatable than the anime. The anime was just like long and boring at times. The manga has like 10-page chapters, which make the series way better. Overall, the anime is just not as good as the manga, especially considering the anime cuts out a few of the best jokes of the series. Oh boy, it's Studio Pierrot's 2016 claim to fame, the Sosei no Myoiji's, the Twin Star Exorcist, the I can't believe my Bimbo Gami ga follow-up is this mediocre. This is a 50-episode series adapting a 10-volume manga with countless filler episodes put into it. That sure sounds like a recipe for success. At first, the adaptation was fine-ish. Not good, but nothing offensive. But once 50 episodes were confirmed for this manga with less than 40 chapters, I knew this series was doomed. Every episode was just so slow and not very well animated. It was just a chore to get through it each week. I'm kind of enjoying it from time to time, but I'm not enthusiastic about it at all, and I can't wait for it to end in a few weeks. I really should drop it, but I've already put so much time into it, I can't. If you're wondering if the manga is a lot better, it is. That's why this anime is so high on this list. It's from the author of Bimbo Gami ga, which is also a much better anime and manga, but the author still made a pretty good manga when he made Twin Star Exorcist. It's a shame to see this anime be so poorly made, because I was telling people to check out the manga for a while before the anime came out, and it's kind of sad to see them check out the anime and be completely disappointed, because trust me, the manga's better. You probably think to yourself, really? Well, yes, really. The Keijo anime was not my cup of tea at all. I had a few chuckles early on, but I stopped caring when it started to become more serious than funny, and I couldn't get myself invested, and overall I was just turned off by the constant butts. The manga, on the other hand, had an actual good beginning with little to no butts, so we actually get a feel for the characters, and we see there's a lot more to this world than the anime did. Like, guys go to their school, they're Keijo engineers. The entire world is so much more interesting in the manga than the anime. We get to know the MC before she goes into high school, and we get to see her friends that helped her push her into the world of Keijo, making her a lot more endearing of a character than the anime did. Everything was just so fleshed out in the manga, and while the manga's not great per se, it's more than just tits and ass. I can understand why you don't believe me, judging by everything you're seeing here, but trust me, the manga is a lot better. At least the anime was well animated. Ushio and Tora. Now, this is a really fucking solid adaptation. When it was an adaptation. Ushio and Tora's anime skipped a ton of the manga. A lot of arcs were really good and developed the main characters Ushio and Tora, and they decided to cut a lot of them out. It made the anime just feel a lot more shallow than the manga. Entire plot points were rushed over in conversation, and character introductions were non-existent, or characters were just kicked out of the series entirely. Like, a lot of driving forces of the series and a lot of plot holes get explained in the manga, and in the anime they're just not there, so we're left with like a good-ish battle shonen. What was there was great, so I can't hate on this adaptation too much, but I was severely disappointed that the anime chose to skip over such amazing material. It's weird to compliment this so much because it's number 2 on my list, but it's only number 2 on this list because I really want people to check out this manga because there's just so much more to it than the anime presented, and it makes me sad that people are probably just going to watch the anime and stop because the anime covers the final arc, which is great. It was good, it's just like, I want to see more of it, that's all. Okay, so here's number 1. Now, keep in mind, I like this anime. I actually like it a lot. But that's because the manga was so good, and so was the beginning of this anime. That's right, number 1 is Erased. Erased is a weird anime. It is quite possibly one of the best directing and well-made series early on in it, but it completely flubbed up near the end. Everything the show was building up kinda just fell flat near the end, and it's hard to look back on the earlier episodes and not feel sad once you now know the answer to all the questions that were present earlier on in the series. Yes, I know it's a thriller and not a mystery, but it doesn't feel like there's much payoff even as a thriller. The manga, on the other hand, had less build-up, so when the payoff was okay at best, there was way less disappointment. Plus, there was an entire arc after the big payoff instead of just a few small, shitty hospital scenes. The bad guy's backstory and motivations get fully explained, there's an entire half of Satoru's past we never got to saw, and every single character gets way more development than in the manga. Yes, the art and direction are a lot worse in the manga, but when you pay attention to the overall plot and how it flows and the dialogue that comes with it, it's easy to see that the manga is way superior. Erased is definitely not the worst adaptation of 2016, but if I had to recommend any manga over any anime that came out last year, it would have to be Erased more than anything else. Well, except for Berserk.